Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. It's me, Vicky, again. Hola, hola, hola. Rio, are you still here? Or have you gone off to watch? Is the Formula One started? Just getting ready for Formula One practice is just finishing. My God, how long does the Formula One go on for? It seems like you've been watching Formula One forever. Okay, hola, buenos dias, buenos dias. Okay, let's see what Rio's saying about her Spanish. So you're struggling with all the vocabulary. We're going to look at some pronunciation today and let you know, except for if anyone's got any questions they want to ask. So you're struggling with all the vocabulary. I'm halfway through the book one. Hi, Rio. Hola, hola. And hola to anybody else who's watching. You're halfway through book one, but you've gone back and you're working through all the exercises again. That's a good idea. I've got a couple of students at the moment who just started to do that. They've got to the end of the level one book. Before we move on to the level two, they want to go through the level one, try and do the exercises again, you know, and keep doing them until you can do them really quickly. So you've got a folder, you're making a list of it all. You sound really organized, Rio. It sounds really organized. So the words, so I've got a folder, I'm making a list of all the words to learn, but I'm struggling. Stop saying it's harder as you get older. We do not do age in my classes, okay? I've had a student who was 88 years old who learned Spanish perfectly well. I've had students in their 70s. It's not age. It's not age. I've had young students who haven't been able to learn Spanish. So it's not about age. So I had my son got me a dictionary for my birthday and it's easy to use. But yeah, it's hard to, you know why it's hard to remember things? It's nothing to do with age. It's because you're not speaking Spanish every day. You know, so the only time you're seeing these words is when you look at the book. And if you were living in a Spanish environment and you were having to speak Spanish every day because otherwise you couldn't, you know, function on a daily basis, then you would remember it. Yeah, 56. You're so old. You're so old. Honestly, do not blame age. We don't accept that as an excuse in my classes. It's nothing to do with age. It's to do with not being in a situation where you're speaking it all the time. And I say I've had young students who couldn't remember things. You know, some people are better at remembering than others in general, but I think the main reason is some people are, you know, learning a language for some people is easier because they've just got an aptitude for languages. You know, like I've got an aptitude for languages, but I'm rubbish with anything to do with maths or science or, you know, like anything like that. It's just like, that's like a foreign language to me. We're all good at different things, you know, so you just need yeah, you should get in your van, just go off to Spain. You can't afford it. I know that's the trouble. You've got to try and support yourself. It's not easy to support yourself in Spain. I hope you're doing the lottery. Do the lottery. And then you never know, that day could come, couldn't it? That day could come, or you just have to save up your pennies. You don't need a lot of money to live in Spain, especially if you are living, I know you've got your van to live in. Don't need loads of money. The problem you'd have in the summer is, of course, it's hot to live in a van in the summer, but you could live on the beach then, couldn't you? You could just get a sleeping bag and go on the beach. Okay, so now, let's see, what did you say? I'm just starting to move on to the AR verbs, and should I carry on or keep revising? Maybe you should go through that whole book just once. I don't think you should keep going over it and over it and over it, because don't forget, I know you've got book two now, haven't you? Well, in book two, the first sort of exercise and you know, you're always revising the things that were in book one. It builds gradually, so things from book one come up. And the way I would do it is, as you're going through book two, if you come to a bit and you think, oh God, I've forgotten, and it's got something that you learned in level one but you've forgotten it, then I'd go back and do that again. So you might come up to a diphthong or whatever in level two. So I'd go back then to the diphthongs in level one, do them again. Yeah, that's what I'd do. Okay, it's not cold at night, really, Rio. To be honest, you'd only need a big duvet. That's all you'd need. It's not that cold at night, even when it gets right into the winter. It's not what you would think of as being cold. Honestly, it's not. So I've still got a window open. Put it that way. So okay, so no sé si hay alguien aquí que quiere aprender inglés también. So si tienes una pregunta sobre inglés, pregúntame. Y yo contesto. So, si tienes pregunta en inglés o español. Okay, so anybody who's got any questions about English or Spanish, they can ask me. So I thought what I'd do is some Spanish pronunciation. If anybody wants English pronunciation, let me know. Vamos a practicar un poquito de la pronunciación española. Y si alguien quiere practicar también un poco de la pronunciación inglesa, pregúntame en comentarios y hacemos eso también. So, Rio, are you happy to do some pronunciation practice? Or did you want to look at something in particular from the level 1 book? You tell me, because you're the one who's on here participating. Sí, pronunciación. Es que pronunciación es muy importante también. Es imposible pronunciar como un nativo. So I just want to tell you, it's impossible to pronounce like a native speaker, you know, especially from the beginning. Nobody's ever probably going to think that you are Spanish. Even me, after all these years. I'm sure that people know that I'm English. Well, they know by looking at me, never mind you know, when I open my mouth. So sometimes people have thought I was from Valencia, or it's quite interesting because, of course, in Valencia, Spanish is the second language, not the first language, because the first language is Valenciano. So sometimes people have said to me that I sound as if I'm from Valencia. So maybe I do, maybe I don't. Anyway, so I'm going to present that. We're going to look at we're going to start with some basic pronunciation. Now, we're going to look at my videos, videos that I've done about vocabulary and pronunciation. Now, some of these work for someone who's learning English as well, because obviously I'm going to be saying it in English and Spanish. So, algo que vamos a mirar funciona si aprendes inglés o español, porque voy a decir las dos cosas en inglés y español. So, son para ingleses o para aprender inglés o para aprender español. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at the pronunciation of the vowels. Now, oh gosh, look at this. I look my hair's so different. So it was 3 years ago, this video. So it's quite a long time ago when I was really just starting with my YouTube channel, my Spanish YouTube channel. I notice I've got a little bit of a tan there as well. I never go in the sun now. I need to get back out in the sun and get a tan. I hate to tell you, Rio, but it's a beautiful day today. It's very sunny. Hace mucho sol. Hoy es muy bonito el día. And it's 18 degrees, mostly sunny. So we're going to look at a video of mine from 3 years ago where we're pronouncing the vowels. Now, the vowels, which of course in English are A, E, I, O, U, in Spanish is A, E, I, O, U. And there's a big difference between the pronunciation of the vowels in English and the vowels in Spanish. And this makes a big difference, you know, to how people pronounce words. And it can make just pronouncing one vowel incorrectly, because Spanish is a phonetic language and you have to pronounce everything correctly. Whereas in English, the pronunciation is just wild and, you know, you just don't even know half the time. You know, you have to almost learn pronunciation in English. There are no rules really, and words that are spelt the same can be pronounced differently. That does not happen in Spanish. So it's important. Oh God, I've just realized I've still got that necklace and that dress 3 years later. Need some new necklaces. Anyway, so it's very important. So that's what we're going to look at. Just make sure you're okay. No, I never go in the sun, Ria. I'm going to go in the sun this weekend. I think I need a break, to be honest. It's just been mad this week, hasn't it, with videos, etc. So, let's see.
Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. It's me, Vicky, again. Okay, in today's video, en el video de hoy, vamos a mirar, we're going to look at la pronunciación de los vocales en español. So the pronunciation of vowels in Spanish. So what I found generally with my students, the vowels are the most difficult of the letters to pronounce in Spanish because, of course, they're completely different to how we pronounce them in English. So if we think of the vowels, which are in English are A, E, I, O, U, yeah, the 5 vowels in the English alphabet. Same in Spanish, they're called vocales, 5 vocales, but they're pronounced completely different. So instead of A, E, I, O, U, we have A, E, O, U. Okay, so very different pronunciation, and these are the letters that can make the difference between whether you're understood or not. Even if you've got the right word, you say your sentence, ask your question perfectly, except you don't pronounce the vowels correctly, and that you will not be understood if you don't pronounce your vowels correctly. Okay, so we're going to look at the first one, the A, yeah, and our first word, now A is always A. This is the easiest one, I think, because it's never pronounced any differently. It doesn't matter which letter it follows, doesn't matter if it's got an accent on it. You know, it's always pronounced exactly the same. So let me take this over here. I never quite know where to hold the thing. So our first word is manzana. So we've got 3 as, and they're all as. Manzana. If you're ever not sure how to pronounce a word in Spanish, break it down into syllables. That's the easiest way to pronounce a word in Spanish. Don't try and say it too quickly. Say it slowly. And then as time goes on, your speed increases. But in the beginning, you have to speak slowly because you have.
Yeah, now I just want to stress that I think I found a lot of my students, they try and speak too quickly. They try and say the words too quickly, and you can't. You've got to split the words up and say them slowly. In the beginning, as time goes on and you get better with Spanish, your speed will increase as well. Your speed will increase. So remember to speak slowly when you're first learning Spanish. Don't try and speak too quickly.
To get the sounds right, and it's harder to get them right if you panic and you try and say it too quickly. So
also, you'll find, I can see even as I'm saying this, I've started to use my mouth more. When you speak Spanish, you need to use your mouth a lot more because you're pronouncing every syllable. So your mouth is much more active than when you're speaking Spanish, English. So be aware of that. It's important to enunciate properly in the beginning.
So, manzana. Then we've got, which is apple, if you don't know. Then we've got school, which is escuela, escuela. Now, actually, it's a very good example as well because it has also got in it an E, which in Spanish is e, and a U, which in Spanish is U. So we've got escuela, escuela. Then we've got just A's in the next one. Trabaja, which means he or she works. It's from the verb to work, trabajar, and this is the third person singular, whether it be a he or she or an it. So trabaja. Now, then this next one, I've noticed my students quite often pronounce incorrectly. So, because this is pagar, not paygar. I suppose because it's the verb, it is the verb to pay, so it's easy for people to think it's.
Yeah, this one is one. I just want to reiterate that which Vicky is saying there. It's like I'm commenting on my own video, but yeah, it's not a lot of English speakers, especially British people, because a lot of my students are not British, but they're all English speakers because they want to learn Spanish through English, or they want to learn English through Spanish. Now, so they quite often, because the verb to pay, pagar is the verb to pay, so they say paygar, but it's not, because a is always a. It's never any different. The a, it's an a, pagar, and it's a ga, because so sometimes the g is pronounced he, but that's only when it's followed by an e. You know, like in Cartagena, or when it's ge, it's a h sound. When it's a ga, it's a hard g sound. It's g. Pagar.
Say pagar. No, pagar. And casa. I've noticed the thing is that A in Spanish, it's a short A, like in how we pronounce it in the north of England, like grass and glass, not grass and glass, like people say in the south. You know, that's the way you speak.
Yeah,
It's not an R, it's an
sorry.
A.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I find that northern people find the vowels easier to pronounce because they sound like the way we pronounce, especially the A. In Manchester, in the north of England, you will always say a short A, grass, bath, you know, whereas in the south, of course, they will say grass or bath. So you've got to, you know, I've had many students that have said en la casa. It's not the posh A, if you like. It's casa, not casa. So that's an important thing to remember. Sorry, forgot.
So we don't say casa or pagar. You know, we've got to remember, you've got to think of the northern way of pronouncing things, which is the short, I call it the short A. So it's like, as I say, glass instead of glass, grass instead of grass, etc. So remember, short A. Manzana, escuela, trabaja, pagar, casa. Okay, so then we've got what for us in English is the E, but of course in Spanish it's not E, it's E. Elefante. One that my students quite often get wrong is the next one, camiseta, not camiseta. It's not an E in Spanish, it's an E. Camiseta. Tiene. Beber, not bibir, because that is to live. You know, if you say bibir, because people are thinking, of course, in English it's an E, so you say biber. No, because in Spanish it's an E, beber, beber. And then I picked the last one. Oh, sorry, and that's the verb to drink. So we've got elefante, which is elephant, camiseta, t-shirt, tiene, he, she, or it has, from the verb to have, beber, to drink, the verb to drink. And I chose comienza because it's got 3 of the vowels in it. Oh,
Yeah, so I just want to. I picked all these words because they've got a lot of vowels in them, and I wanted to show to people how you have to pronounce every one. So a lot of people, a lot of my students, when they're pronouncing tiene, they say tien, because in English it's common for us to the final vowel is silent. You know, like in stone. You know, in Spanish, that would be pronounced stone. You know, there are no silent letters in Spanish except for the H. The H is the only letter that we don't pronounce. So we have to pronounce every single syllable, every single vowel. Camiseta, tiene, elefante, beber, comienza. So that it hurts your mouth sometimes to speak Spanish because you definitely have to use your mouth a lot more. There's a lot more pronunciation involved.
Actually, it's got 4 yet. So comienza. Remember syllables to start with until you get better at it. Comienza. Okay, so we've got elefante, camiseta, tiene, bebé, comienza. As always, if there's anything that you want to query, you don't understand, or any particular video you'd like me to do, explain the pronunciation of something or how something works, leave me a comment and I will do that. This is the trickiest one. Well, this combined with the because in English, E, we think of this letter, don't we? But we've got to think completely different. When we say E in Spanish, we mean I. So, aspirina, not aspirina, aspirina. And literally, I know from experience, because I heard this actually happened to somebody I knew, actually asking for aspirina, which you think it's not much different from aspirina. The doctor couldn't understand a word that they were saying. So absolutely couldn't understand. So aspirina, impossible, iglesia, that's not an accent above there. It looks a bit like an accent. It's not, it's just a normal I. Now, I picked iglesia and inglés because people get them mixed up all the time. What you've always got to remember is iglesia, church, doesn't have an N in it. Yeah, it's not inglesia, it's iglesia. Whereas English, inglés, does have an N in it. So that, lots of British people go around saying they are churches. So inglés, iglesia. And then vivir, yeah, to live. So this is the word that if you said the one I was looking at previously, beber, if you said it wrong and said bibir, it would sound like you were saying this instead of to drink, you were saying to live. So we've got aspirina, which obviously is aspirin, impossible, which is impossible, iglesia, inglés, vivir. Yeah, and it's funny because these two top words, of course, they're very similar to the English. So you think they'd be, but believe me, if you say the vowel wrong, pronounce the vowel wrong, you won't be understood, even though the word is practically identical to, even though you know the word that you're saying is so similar. If you try and say it what I'm trying to say, if you try and say it in an English way instead of a Spanish way, even though the word is practically identical, it won't be understood. Okay, so that's the E. So the and the E, they're the two that people get wrong the most. Then we've got the O, or in Spanish, it's not O, it's O. So, of course, we don't pronounce the H's in Spanish, so we've got hotel, hospital. Then the next one, those two are obvious what they mean what they look like they mean. Don't forget not to pronounce the H, though. Again, that's something that's important. So no H is pronounced in Spanish.
Yeah, just wanted to say it's interesting, isn't it? These words that literally are spelt identical. So in English, you've got hotel and hospital, But in Spanish, they're pronounced so, even though they're spelled exactly the same, you couldn't get more different in the pronunciation. You've got hotel and hospital. So you'd think if you said hotel that somebody would understand what you meant, but they wouldn't because the pronunciation is so wrong, because Spanish is so phonetic. Obviously, they'd understand it if it was written down because it's spelled exactly the same. But if you said it, I think though you would get a quizzical look. Hotel, hospital in Spanish, and in English, hotel, hospital. They're very different, aren't they? Very, very different.
Hotel, hospital. Then we've got tocar, which is to play, is to touch or to play an instrument, such as the piano, guitar. A lot of my students say tocar, no, tocar, like TikTok, like in talk, tocar, coger. So coger is to catch, as in catch a bus or a plane or something. And again, oh, not o, oh, coger. And the G is a h sound, coger. And then I picked periodical just because it's got quite a few O's in it. Periodico. And not, it's got lots of syllables, so it's a good practice for syllables. Periodico. Periodico. Now, see where the accent is over the first O. If it wasn't there, it'd be periodico. Periodico, because the natural stress is on the I, but the accent is there to tell us to stress that letter, periodico. So yeah, just keep practicing. Honestly, it's so important in Spanish. Even if you're just sitting at home reading them out, and I know then you've not got, well, you could compare them with the video, obviously, to practice, or if you've got any of my audios for the books, etc. But it doesn't really matter, because what I think it matters is getting your mouth around the words. So you will say it wrong at first. I think the other thing you've just got to know is you will do it wrong. It's not to be ashamed of or to worry about. If you could open your mouth and just speak perfect Spanish from word to go, you would not need Spanish classes.
Yeah, and I think this is important. People are very hard on themselves. They're terrified of speaking because, and it's the same for Spanish people speaking English. They're terrified to open their mouth because they might say it wrong. They might say it wrong. Well, unfortunately, you will say it wrong. You'll say it wrong many, many times before you say it right. It's unavoidable. It's like if you were learning a new job or learning anything, learning to play the piano, learning to drive a car, you don't do it right from the very first time that you do it. You have to learn how to do it right. But part of that learning is practicing, and you have to not be scared to practice.
It's impossible. You need to practice to perfect your accent. Practice, even if it's just reading things out loud at home. Get your mouth around, get familiar with the words, and then bit by bit, the perfection comes with practice. Okay. Now, I mean, having said that, you always have to remember, whatever nationality you are, you're not Spanish. So don't think, that you are going to sound like a Spanish person, because that's difficult. But often you speak better Spanish than a Spanish person. You think about people who learn English, how well they speak English. We don't all speak like that. But yeah, you may always have an accent, a British accent or whatever, Spanish people tend to know where people come from when they're speaking Spanish, but that doesn't mean to say they don't understand them. That's the important thing. Communication, isn't it? Okay, and the last vowel, which is U, which in Spanish is oo. So maybe I shouldn't have put the H on the end. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think if it's just ooh, that might be more like oh? So yeah, ooh. urgente, urgent. Murcia, uno, uso, autobús. Yeah, urgente, Murcia, uno, uso, autobús. So it's an U, not a U. Okay.
Now I'm just going to go.
Yeah. So I hope you.
Sorry,
Urgente, Murcia.
Shut up, Vicky. So I just want to say for anybody who might be watching who's learning English, that these words in English, I should put the English at the side of them, are urgent. So we've got urgente in Spanish, urgent in English. Murcia, well, in English we'd say Murcia, you know, that's how we would say that word, Murcia. Uno is the word for the number one. Yeah, one, just one. And uso is the word is use or use, probably. It's either I use, if we're thinking of it as the verb, or use, the use of something. And then, of course, autobus is bus or coach. We have two words in English that we use for bus and coach. Just to let you know that.
Uno, uso, autobús. So it's an U, not a U. Okay. Well, yeah. So I hope you found that video useful. If you have, please give me the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember that to subscribe is free, completely free. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Every single one of you, thank you. And I'll see. Oh, sorry, I should be doing it in Spanish. Os veo en el.
Okay, I'm not quite. Oh gosh, I've left it on. I'm not quite ready to go yet, so I won't say that yet. So, oh, let me just turn it. Oh, I've left it on. I've left it on. Okay, so any questions about that, about vocabulary, sorry, about pronunciación, or alguna pregunta alguien tiene? Because if no questions, I'm probably going to finish this stream off soon. I can see there are a couple of you in here, which is nice. And if you've got any questions, please ask them in the comments. Yeah, Rio, there are a lot of other I mean, I think I've got over maybe 600 videos on there. Now, they are in playlists. There's playlists for vocabulary, playlists for listening. I think, you know, so there are playlists. But I think and on these Friday lives, you know, when I've dealt with the questions, if anyone's got questions, I will be playing vocabulary and pronunciation, etc. But I think there's at least 600 videos on there, but they are itemized into playlists. Obviously there's a playlist for the level 2, because I know you're about to start the level 2. There's a playlist for that too, in every exercise that's in there. It needs some TLC, my because you know, doing my other YouTube channel has sort of taken over everything at the moment, so I'm trying to sort of go in between the two channels, because I've never, like for example, lives, I've never tried to get lives off the ground at all in this channel until now. So thank you for that, because you've made me do it, and I'm hoping. But I haven't had a chance to advertise it. I need to advertise it. You know, as you know, it's been a bit crazy this week, so I haven't had. I was planning on advertising. Oh, I had big plans at the start of the week. Anyway, I managed to do. The live, which is a miracle in itself, to be honest. Yeah, Netflix in Spanish is good, and YouTube. You know, there's loads of. You know, there's the Spanish YouTube where you can watch the news in Spanish or anything that's going on, little short things. Yeah, it has all been manic. But you probably got, maybe on YouTube you can get the F1 commentary in Spanish, Rio, because I don't know, because I don't know anything about F1. I don't follow it at all, so I have no idea. But I don't know if you're around and about, Rio, but I will be on the other channel at 2 o'clock today. Well, 2 o'clock Spanish time, and then I'll be on at 8 o'clock Spanish time again for a live. And then until I get this report out of the way, I will be doing at least 2 videos a day. And then I just can't wait to get it out of the way, really. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you could do that. Get a VPN. Yeah, of course you could. Yeah, watch the Spanish Formula One in Spanish. I mean, for me, I couldn't imagine anything worse. But it's only because I don't like Formula One, but you've got Specsavers this afternoon. What was I going to say? I was just going to say something else then to you, and it's gone out of my head. But that's it. You can only do what you can do. Have you've missed a couple? Yeah, well, there's so many at the moment. When I finish that report, I'm going to put all that into a playlist, and then people can just watch it. So, not everybody can catch everyone. I know that. Okay, so I will see you next Friday for the next live. Anyone who's out there, please come back next Friday if you want to learn some more. Si queréis aprender más español or inglés. So I'll see you very soon in the next video. Yeah, os veo muy pronto en el próximo video y hasta entonces, que tu Dios vaya contigo. And until then, may your God go with you. Gracias. Thank you, Rio. Adiós.